How you doing? Sore cheeks from laughing? Of course you have. Listen, really thrilled to have him here to talk to us about his many roles in the film. Writer, director, producer and star of the film. Please put your hands together and welcome Aziz Ansari. Hey, I was just saying I saw a couple of people leaving and I was like, they're crying. Man, the film really affected. And I realised he'd been next door watching Downton Abbey. So
That
yeah.
tracks. It's very emotional. in
Yeah,
here.
yeah, totally. Listen, congratulations on this film.
Oh, thank you.
It's a little cheeky thing because on surface level it's one thing in terms of it really makes you laugh. It's really funny. But there's actually a lot going on there. There's a lot to kind of unpack and there's a lot to kind of consider as well, I think, in terms of what you're saying in this film. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
What was the starting point? What kind of was the catalyst to, first of all, writing this or coming up with this idea for these characters and what the story would be?
I'd been doing stuff that was a little more dramatic, and I really wanted to do a comedy. And I'd been spending time in LA, and I kind of had these two guys in my head, and I would always get to like page 40, and I didn't really knew what was going to happen. Like I got to like the credit card where he uses the credit card and he gets fired, and I was like, what happens then? And then I was like, what if Keanu's an angel? No, I didn't I didn't go straight there, but I went to this idea of the angel because I'd had this notion of this an angel kind of putting out this gambit with the guy, and the guy being like, no, I don't buy
Yeah.
it, and then it kind of went from there.
Did you write it specifically for Keanu though?
No, I originally wrote it thinking that Seth would be the angel, and yeah, that's trivia. And Seth and I met with some people. We were trying to find someone to play Jeff, and then I was like, I don't know if I can find anyone that can pull off Jeff the way I want, except Seth, honestly, because I think what Seth does so well is he's that character who's doing some kind of douchey stuff, but he's still kind of fun, and you like him, and you're rooting for him, and he's so funny playing that frustration when he's got to do all this stuff when his life gets swapped, and then we had the angel part open. And someone brought up Keanu, and I was like, "What? Yeah, that if that's something that could happen in reality." And I met him here in London. Yeah, he was here by chance. I stay here a lot. My wife lives here, and so I live here most of the time. And he was here in London, and I went to meet him. He was staying at some hotel, and as soon as I walked in, he was standing there like he is on the poster, with both his arms out, with people taking pictures and like kissing babies and doing his Keanu
With wings
thing.
and a trench coat.
Yeah. And I was like, "Oh my God,
He's my guy."
This is," and he had long hair because he was like doing the wick stuff,
Yeah.
and so it was like very much, whoa, this is very this seems like it's got to be the guy. And also, I when his name came up, I started reading the script and doing like a Keanu voice in my head, and everything just seemed funnier. And once he came on, it all I started just writing more and more for that character, and he's incredible.
He has that kind of ability to like kind of play dumb, but he's kind of but he's not, that kind of thing of like the character sort of in a way. It's like that sort of almost like naivety, that childlike kind of quality and stuff as well.
Yeah.
And it's the physicality of it as well, and the way that there's just all these little nuances about it that are so brilliant in the storytelling.
Yeah, we really dialed it into him, and if you watch some of his, when me and Keanu were talking about what to do with the character, we talked about Parenthood, his character Todd, and that, and
Yeah.
obviously the stuff he did in Bill and Ted. But Todd, who people may not know as well if you haven't seen Parenthood, which I was rewatching on TV the other day, so good. But yeah, he has this sweetness to him, and he's so funny when he's playing all this stuff you were just describing, and it just became like such a comedy writer's dream. Like everything, you could just come up with him doing anything, and it would be funny because it's like, okay, this guy's never done anything, so it's like, okay, what if he's using the internet? Oh, he's just gonna look up photos of baby elephants, and you just write. It's just so fun.
It's just that scene of him eating the food for the first time.
Oh yeah, that was so fun. That was like the first big scene we shot, and I was just cracking up, and that I remember we were shooting it, and I yelled out to them this one line that's at the end of the scene where I said, "Okay, Seth say, "You're a big boy now," and then Keanu take a bite and go, "I'm a big boy now," and then they just did it, and it was like magic. But that was a really fun scene to film, and it was the first scene with the two of them that was a long scene like that. And as soon as we framed it up, I thought, wow, this feels good seeing these two on screen together.
When you were kind of, sitting down writing the script, first of all, did you have in mind that the script would have this kind of depth to it? That you knew that you wanted it to be a comedy, but kind of with substance to it as well. Was that the plan, or did that kind of come out in the writing?
I'd say both. I wanted to make sure if I was writing about some of that stuff, which is sensitive topic matter, that I got it right and that I was respectful of what I was writing about. So I did my best to research and get it right and get the
Yeah.
details right. And I interviewed a lot of people and talked to a lot of people that were gig workers or people that had slept in their cars and all these things, and try to do it in a way where I was getting the details right.
Yeah, and these kind of they're so brilliantly written characters. Kiki's character as well is just, as well, and that whole side of, what her character's fighting for as
Hmm.
well. And great to see her in this kind of role.
Oh yeah, I mean Kiki's incredible because she's so funny, but also I think she has such the heart of the film as her, and yeah, she was always in the back of my head for that character, and I was really glad that she was able to do it.
How was it directing yourself?
It's a mode I'm very comfortable in because I did it on my Netflix series,
Yeah.
and I'm very easy to work with. I don't drop out. Sometimes actors are like, "Hey, another thing came up." I never do that to myself, and I take direction for myself very well. I know exactly what I want for myself, and I know how to give it to myself. And no, Seth and I talk about this because he does that on his series now in
Yeah.
the studio,
Mm.
and it's a little bit of a cheat code. There's a little bit of a streamlining, but there's also something so fun about having people like Seth and Keanu and all the amazing cast I have, and you write something and you have an idea of how you imagine they're going to do it, and
Yeah.
then it's like, oh whoa, they did something a little unexpected,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and,
yeah.
and they pushed it up a notch, and it's super fun.
Is that an important element for you as a director to kind of give them that freedom to play with things then? Like, with like Sandro and Keanu in a skeet scene together. It's like, guys, let's do the script, but then let's play. Or how does it work with you?
Well, I try to do that and try to collaborate with them in advance. So when we're there on the day, anytime you're on set with the cameras, that time is so precious. So I try to do as much as I can beforehand. So the scene where Keanu and Seth are outside the Korean restaurant, and Keanu's character started smoking. I remember we were at my house rehearsing that, and I think I pitched Keanu that joke where it's like, when you start smoking cigarettes, and Seth, you're like, what are you doing? And then you go, leave me alone, Jeff. It's all I have. It cracked me up when we did it in my house, and I was like, "That's that. I think that's gonna work," and I think it did, and it still made me laugh now when I said it. It was it's just and Keanu. He smokes, and so I'd see him smoke, and he looks so cool. Keanu just does you just don't understand how cool Keanu is. This is Keanu. Hey, Keanu, can you come for rehearsal? Sure, sure. At your house? Yeah, yeah. He shows up, and he shows up on a motorcycle that looks like it's like he drove out of an anime movie. And then he gets out, he's got like a futuristic backpack, boots, and he's like, "Oh, shoes off?" And I'm like, if you don't mind, but I mean, I don't know. And he's like got like 30 laces. He's like, "Not a problem." And then he's just the coolest. I remember when we first were trying to get Keanu to do this, like he was like, he read the script, he's like, "I like it." And he's like, "I have some other things going on." He was touring with his band and stuff. And we're like, "Well, what if you do a table read with us?" He's like, "Come to my house, we'll just read, me, you, and Seth. We'll have a couple people and we'll just read together." And he was like, "Okay." And then we were like, "Do you want to get some, should amongst my team, we were like, should we order some food? And should we get food beforehand or after?" And it was like, whoa, we gotta get this right. Because it's like, okay, if you get food before, then everyone's full. And then they're like reading and they're
Food
like, "Mm, a
coma.
little tired." But if you go after, then everyone's reading the whole time. They're like, when's this thing gonna end? I'm getting hungry. So what do? I eventually said, okay, let's first I picked this burrito place called Sonora Town, which is amazing in
Some
LA. We were
heavy
in
food.
LA. And I was like, well, we can't get Sonora Town before. Let's get Sonora Town afterwards to get some burritos. And and I'd scheduled the read, so it was like, okay, it ended at a time when everyone get hungry. It would like end at like 7:30, and we ordered the Mexican food. And I remember like everyone put their order, and Keanu got some guacamole on the side of his thing, and there was like a guacamole container that just said Keanu, and I saved the top and framed it. And I have it in my house, and it's a Keanu guacamole top. I don't think I've told him that story. Um, yeah.
Just frozen the leftover guacamole and
The
just
guacamole
smelling
was
it
cleaned
every day.
off. It's washed. The guacamole was
Glad to
finished.
hear that.
Yeah.
Did you were talking about kind of researching the kind of authenticity to some of those kind of situations and characters. What about ghost movies? You know, in terms of like contemporary, not in that respect
What do you
where,
mean, angel
ooh,
movies?
angel movies. Sorry,
Angel
yeah, angel
movies.
movies.
Ghost
Yeah,
movies is different
ghost movies are
project.
different. Yeah, angel
You
movies.
know the
Yeah,
difference between ghosts and angels,
I
right?
think so.
Because
Yeah, I thought that was your
it's
sequel.
wildly
Is that
different.
the sequel?
No,
Yeah.
angel movies. Yeah, I mean, I watched. You know, I watched probably 100 movies because we started shooting, and then we had to stop because of the writer's strike, and so we had a few months off, and I didn't work on the script because you're not supposed to, and I also welcomed it because that space. Whenever you're working on a script, if you have that space for some, if it's a couple weeks, whatever, it's nice to have to look at it with fresh eyes.
Yeah.
But I watched so many movies, but I watched every Angel movie, I think. But I love Wings of Desire, It's a Wonderful Life, A Matter of Life and Death, Palin Pressburger, UK's own. What other Angel? Heaven Can Wait. Yeah, there are so many great ones, and the idea of doing one now and putting this kind of modern spin on everything and having it be Keanu seemed
Yeah.
very fun.
What about music in terms of, Carter Burwell doing your score on this as well? I mean,
Yeah.
that's that's the big guns. That's, Martin McDonough and Conan Brothers there, right there. He's an amazing composer. Why
Yes.
him?
Well, he did, one of the movies I watched, when you think about like there's a body swap element, and if you think about what's the best body swap movies, I have an answer that you might not expect, and I think it's Being John Malkovich, which you don't think of as a body swap, but it kind of is, kind of in the way this is, where it's like, it's another guy getting a glimpse into this, a guy that's dissatisfied with his life, getting a glimpse into a life that seems more glamorous. And Carter did the score for that, as well as adaptation. I mean, those Spike Jones, Charlie Kaufman, that era. I mean, those are like my favorite films. I constantly rewatch them, but I watch Being John Malkovich a lot. Um, just I think one of the greatest screenplays, one of my favorite movies ever. And Carter did the score for that, and Spike is a good friend of mine. And I asked him about Carter, and I said, I never done score before. I've mastered on the series I did. We used just source music, which means just picking songs. So I asked him, I was like, "What do you think about Carter?" And he said, "When I did that, I hadn't worked with anyone that did score, and if I was you and I was going on that journey, Carter would be my first call, and he'll be a great person to help you." And he was, and it was one of those things where we're like, "Oh," I said, "What about Carter Burwell?" And everyone's like, "Oh yeah, sure, Aziz." Like, it worked out. Yeah, he was great, and we recorded the score in London here at Abbey Road, which was also one of the coolest things to
Did you
do
do the
that with
picture?
Carter. Huh?
Did you do the crossing picture?
What do you mean?
Come on. The
Oh,
Beatles.
the cross of the road.
Yeah.
Hold on. You didn't know what ghosts were earlier. So let's just calm down that I didn't understand your accent when you said the crossing picture.
Sorry, I forgot the subtitles.
No, I didn't do it, but I do know what you mean, but I didn't do it.
What was it like recording in Abbey Road though? Because it's a magical place. The history in that place is extraordinary.
The coolest thing is, there's a cafeteria there, and you go down there and you eat that. You're like, that's the coolest thing. Let me finish. Don't worry.
Paul McCartney's serving muffins. It's like-
Yeah, close. But there's pictures of the Beatles like eating in the same cafeteria, and it's just such a funny thing to see.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I'm a Beatles fan and love all the folklore, and to be there was very cool.
With Carter though, was it just a case of did he respond to the script, and did you kind of talk to him about, those films that were inspiring in a way for you or influential in a way, and his work within those?
Well, I knew that he could do score for the kind of comedy I want to do, which was something that was had this fantastical element, but was grounded, and was able to give pace when I needed it, and do all the stuff tonally that those films he worked on with Spike did. And yeah, I sent him the script, and he liked the script, and then he was on.
Did you know what you wanted? Did you have an idea of kind of, yeah, I want Carter Burwell, but what you wanted him to do?
Well, when you're editing a movie, what you do is you put in temp score, which is, you use score from other films, or classical music pieces, and or instrumental pieces, whatever you want. And so, from those what's in there temp, you get kind of an idea of tonally what the director's going for. And I mean, every composer has a different process. Some people like to watch the movie with nothing, and just kind of feel it. Other people want to see what you've chosen for temp. I think Carter was the latter, but that was kind of a little direction. And then the process, I'd never done it before. It was very interesting. He would send sketches, and those would be his kind of rough versions of the score that he'd composed on MIDI. And I think that's the right terminology. But anyway, he would send that, and we would try those, and we'd give feedback. Oh, you know what? I feel like it needs a little more energy, or oh, something a little more emotional, whatever. And I would try to do my best, and he would keep sending stuff, and we'd go back and forth, and then you'd land on something like, "Ooh, I like this." And but what was interesting is, like, he sent me this thing that was like the main theme, and once he had that main theme, it was kind of off to the races, and he would just do variations of that, and it would just find its way into the movie, and it was really cool to see how he extrapolated it into all these different pieces of score from that initial.
And you've got, I mean, there's so many brilliant needle drops in the film
Oh
as
yeah.
well.
Oh, thank
Were
you.
those written into the script, or did you kind of find those along that journey as well, or?
Some of those are written into the script. I work with this gentleman, Zach Cowie, who worked with me on Master of None,
Yeah.
and he and I worked together a lot on the music, and it was really fun. And it's a little bit of a challenge, because sometimes you find a song, but you have to work within a certain budget, and you have to.
Songs are expensive, man.
They are, yeah. But we were really fortunate that we were able to get all these songs, and I love all the songs we got. And I was messaging him this morning, actually, because we were doing another screen tomorrow, and I was making like a little playlist to play. For, I think I made it for this too. I don't know if they played it, but it was like kind of music from the movie, and,
Yeah.
and some other stuff that we didn't use that we liked, and I was like, man, these are great songs, and we had like a fun soundtrack, I think. So I'm really happy with it.
Are the choices, when you're writing those into the script, are you putting those in because you like them, or are you putting them in because you're thinking about how they connect to, I don't know, emotion, or where the character is, or how the audience are feeling? What's the kind of decision process of the choices that are in there, whether it's, I've made a list of a few of them, but like Salt and Pepper Push It, or um Beck, New Pollution, Inner City, Good Life, all those ones. There's so many, there's loads, and there's
If
such
you
great
give me one, I
choices.
can tell you the story of each one, because they're all a
Beck,
little
New
different.
Pollution.
New Pollution. So we wanted something that kind of was kind of like an Arj jam. It's kind of setting up who he is, so it needed a little pace. Zach was very much into it being Beck, and kind of felt like this guy would listen to Beck, and that there's a little '90s kind of vibe. And I love New Pollution, and I think it has a really fun pace. And also, the other thing is, like, there's a lot of dialogue under that whole sequence, so having something that is fun and has pace, but um, doesn't distract from the dialogue, so you can hear the jokes. But that song has that great drum beat, the bum, ba, ba-dum, bum, ba, and so it kind of gives the whole thing a little pace.
Salt and Pepper, Push It.
I think we were just trying to find a funny song to have him have the pool party. We had so many different things, and we tried Push It, and something about, if you watch it again, you'll notice that whenever Keanu steps in, that's when the "Ooh baby baby," and so I was like, that's the universe telling us to do this. Oh God, sorry. I like hurt my stomach yesterday.
Oh,
I
wow.
You want to hear the weirdest injury?
Yeah.
I was making some chicken curry at home, and is there any Indian people here? No, no. There's a few. There's a few shy ones. But do you ever cook? You cook at home? You cook Indian food? Okay, so like when you have chicken thighs, do you cut it through the bone, or do you just yeah, you cut the bone in the middle, right? So you have what are called curry-sized chunks. So I had some poultry shears, and I was cutting the chicken with and the I think these shears were like not sharp or something, and I was like, "Mm," and then I just really put all of my might into it, but the back of the shears clipped onto my belly, and
Ow!
it didn't cut, but it's really taken me out. I haven't sat down this long since the injury last night. So anyway,
Wow, chicken shear injury.
do you have a chart that shows how quickly people drop off when they're listening? Because I feel like then he started
This
talking
is what we
about
put in. No, this is what we drop in the
getting
advert
injured
for
by.
either recipes or like kitchen utensils at that point, for
Oh
sure,
my
or
god!
medical
Well, not
insurance.
that one because that I got hurt.
But where there's blame, there's a claim. That's what we throw in at that
Hey.
point. What about inner city? Good
Inner
life.
city, that was so Zach was always into Jeff's house having like house music,
Yeah.
and that he loved the idea of using all this '90s house stuff, which I think is so fun. And both there was two inner city tracks that we really liked. There's Good Life, and then there's Big Fun, and we used Good Life. That felt a little better, but yeah, that was it was like, oh, in Jeff's house we're listening to house music, and in when we're in Arj's world we're listening to like kind of '90s stuff, like there's a go between song, the Streets of Your Town, and
Yeah.
and then there's Beck, and so that was the idea.
And then the Sylvester tracks got pull through from Trading Places.
I mean, there's a little
Kind
nod to
of.
Trading Places. I also just love that song, and
It's
and I,
great.
I was talking to you backstage about how the edit we made is so like when it kicks in, it just starts with that scream where he's like ah, and it's so it that just gives such a shot of energy, and if you watch, there's like live videos of Sylvester performing, and it's kind of incredible to see him do that scream.
Yeah. Have there. So one thing that I really miss from DVDs, when you used to get DVDs and you used to get the second disc, the DVD extras,
Hmm.
is like the bloopers.
Oh, the bloopers.
And for me, I imagine there being some really great moments that didn't make the edit of maybe the equivalent of bloopers that would make that disc on the DVD.
I can't remember. I think sometimes what we do now is when we have the rap party, you play some bloopers and stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like we made some, but yeah, I mean, we were laughing a lot, especially when someone would improvise something. Seth would usually get me, and Keanu would get me sometimes. But yeah, we definitely had fun.
What's Seth like to direct?
He's great because people think he's like, oh, the guy's stoned all the time. He is such,
Come on.
he's so sharp, he's so smart, and he's made so many movies. He understands movies, and he's such a great collaborator. And I showed him the script early on, and he would, every couple of months we'd meet up and maybe talk and read it, and he'd see where the draft was, and he'd always have little tips. And he really understands the mechanics of screenwriting and what makes movies work. And um, we were trying to do some work on the ending, and I remember him telling me, like, the thing to keep in mind is what is this guy doing at the end of the movie that he wouldn't have done at the beginning? And that's actually something I think about all the time. I don't in screenwriting, it's really that simple sometimes. My friend Alan and I, who's a producer on it, we always talk about the French toast moment, which is referencing Kramer versus Kramer, where in the beginning of the movie he can't make French toast, so that at the end he can make French toast. And you see it even like this weekend. I saw it. One battle after another. Close your ears if you didn't see it, or pause your podcast. But I feel like at this point, I feel like if you haven't
Go on.
gone, I'm kind of ready to fuck you over because it's got really good reviews, and you should have gone by now. No, that's not nice. Maybe it's been sold out. But
Go on.
in one battle after another, in the beginning of the movie, he doesn't have a phone. He's like worried about his daughter. At the end, she's like, "I'm going here, Dad," and he's like, "Okay," and he just takes a selfie, and that's the movie, right? That's
The
how the
end.
guy changed. That's literally the end of the movie, and it's like, oh, okay, that's the journey the guy went on in the movie, and in this movie, it's like, okay, in the beginning of the movie, he's like lying to his dad and everything, and in the end, he's honest with his dad.
It's so interesting hearing you talk about filmmaking because just the references that you make and clearly how much you love film. It's
Oh,
really, really Powell and Pressburger, all the kind of references and things that you're just dropping into conversation. You're clearly a big film fan.
yeah. I mean, I realized when I started thinking about really focusing on directing, I realized that okay, look at the greatest directors of a lot: PTA, Scorsese, Tarantino. What do they all have in common? They've seen every movie. They're walking encyclopedias, and I thought to myself that cannot be a coincidence. So I just started really being aggressive about trying to watch all these movies. And I know you do these kind of things, and there's someone sitting in the audience like I haven't seen anything. I was that guy. I promise you. And you can watch a movie a day and whatever you can rack them up very quickly, and you
Mm.
can go through those lists very quickly. And there's so many resources, whether letterboxed or whatever, or just your friends. I'm a big advocate of trying to turn to people to ask. But I was
Yeah,
watching a movie
totally.
that, what's funny is I'm doing all these interviews for this, and like I'm like finishing up another thing, and I've been watching movies for that, and I was rewatching this movie that I hadn't seen in a while this morning, and I was just so blown away by it. Seconds by John Frankenheimer, just truly incredible. Has anybody seen Seconds?
I'm gonna write that down. Like that. There's a
Nobody?
recommendation.
Nobody? Just me in this whole place?
But that's good. That's like 100 people gonna go and
You
watch it
you you
now.
should definitely watch it. So the premise of the movie is
I don't
a
give it
guy.
away.
Yeah, okay, all right. Hey, I thought I could do it in a non-spoiler way, but no,
Go
it's
on then.
it's truly incredible. No, it might be cool to just see it with going in cold, but it's there's a cinematographer named James Wong Howe, or Howe. I don't know how to pronounce his name,
Mm-hmm.
but I think one of the most incredible cinematographers. He shot that movie HUD as well, Paul Newman film. But he shot the movie, and you watch this movie, and it's very old, but it looks like something Wong Kar Wai in terms of how wild the
Yeah.
camera work is and the lenses and things. It's so ahead of its time, and it's you're stunned. And the movie's very dark and interesting, and yeah.
Is there a point though when you started delving into movies like that you realized how important music can be in that storytelling element and the effect a film can have? Or are there
Um,
soundtracks that really stand out to you as being memorable?
Oh, yeah. I mean, of course. I mean, there's so many great ones of I remember being in college and all the Wes Anderson soundtracks that were always incredible, and all the Tarantino soundtracks, and both of those guys in particular, amazing needle drops, but stuff that's a little bit deeper, that you haven't heard sometimes, and
Yeah.
and always fit very perfectly. But that was something I have to give credit to Zach Cowie. He really kind of you know. Showed me how to work all that,
Yeah.
like even at the end, right? In the end of this movie, that "Send Me an Angel" song, I was like, I don't know, and he was like, "What do you want people thinking about?" And I was like, I guess Keanu and the angel." And he was like, "Then do send me an angel." And I was like, "Okay." And I think he's right. He's very sharp about putting a lot of thought into what you're using, because it's not just like using a cool song.
Yeah.
There's stuff I did in like season one of Master of None where I realized, oh, there wasn't the level of thought I put into the stuff in season two, and I think that was a little bit of Zach being more confident and kind of pushing me, and me kind of understanding, like putting that extra layer of thought into what being so intentional with what these songs are, because you can always put just songs that are cool,
Yeah.
but really being intentional with, like, well, what does this say about the character and the lyrics and all these
Mm.
things.
It's also building your team, as you make this journey and directing more, it's kind of having those kind of people around you that the trust there, the collaborations
Yeah,
there that you can kind of
you have a
sort of push
shorthand.
each other and kind of, experiment with things as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, I mean, making a film is any film that gets made is a miracle, and the people that are able to make a lot of them, you notice they tend to have the same team over and over, because you have that shorthand and you can get things done faster. And in this film, Kelsey Comeau, one of the co-producers, she's been with me for a long time. Actually, it was our 7 years of working together anniversary today, she told me.
Oh,
Yes, and my brother Anis worked on with Master None, was a writer on Master None, producer on this. My friend Alan Yang, who co-created Master None with me, he worked with me on this. He was a producer. So I try to keep those guys around, and the people that were new. Kaylee, she was a recommendation for my production designer on Master None, and we got along very quickly. April, our costume designer. You also have to become very good at kind of doing the interview process and kind of sussing out who really is your vibe and who really understands your references. And when you talk about why do you put the music cues in the script, I realize the more you can do in the script to just convey to people what you're trying to do, like
yeah.
the vibe, and the more specific you can be, because you have it in your head, but you can't assume anyone's got any of the stuff you have in your head unless it's on the page. And
Yeah.
and ultimately, that's your job as director, is to kind of tell people what you're trying to do.
Yeah. What can you tell us about the next project or nothing?
I had two things written. I don't know which one I do first, but one of them, the one that I was talking about, that seconds,
Yeah.
that's a sci-fi idea. That's all I'm saying right now.
Oh,
We're-
I like the sound of that.
yeah, I hope I get to make it. I mean, it's obviously everyone talks about how it's such a interesting time for making movies, and everybody, friends of mine that are directors for a long time are like, it's a particularly tough time, and with theatrical and everything. But God, that's why I feel so lucky that we were able to make this movie, and that people are going to get to see it in theaters, and
Mm.
I'm glad you guys saw it in a theater, and I hope anyone listening, that they have an idea of how much more fun it is to see this with the crowd.
Yeah.
And I've seen it. When we did it in Toronto at the film festival, it was like 1,300 people, and when we were screening it in LA for the first times, like the rough cuts, it was like 300 people, and just that. I remember when I went and saw. I don't know if you guys have ever had this experience, but I remember I saw 40-Year-Old Virgin when it first came out. And
Amazing.
it was pandemonium.
Yeah.
People left and they were like, "Holy shit!" And I had one friend. I kept telling him, like, "Dude, you
Yeah.
gotta see this." And he was like, "Oh, okay, yeah." I was like, "It's so funny. It's like one of the funniest movies." And we saw it like maybe like 7 weeks after it came out,
Yeah.
and we saw it in a theater where there was like 10 people there.
That never happens. The stuff doesn't stay in the cinema any longer for 7 weeks.
Yeah.
That's another thing that needs to change.
Well,
Films
that
need to be in the
yeah,
cinema for longer.
that I totally agree. Because it's sometimes people are busy, and you just it's
Yeah,
life, and
life.
sometimes it takes a few weeks to get around to seeing it. But yeah, I wish it was a longer window. I don't know what the window will be in good fortune, but hopefully it's long. But
Sorry, I interrupted you.
no, it's okay. And so I saw the 40-Year-Old Virgin with 13 people, and it just didn't play as well because there just wasn't the crowd, and there were so many things that got huge laughs that didn't get anything from that little crowd, and he left, and he was like, "Yeah, it was good." And it was just nothing like the experience. Like, I also do stand up, and it's like, yeah, if you go to like the Hammersmith Apollo or Royal Albert Hall, it's a great time, and everyone has a great time. But if there was only like 10 people there, it's not gonna work. And if you just heard me do stand up in your house and no one was laughing, that wouldn't be as good. And there's something the other people are part of the experience, and I just I hope that people have that with this movie, and that you know we can get them to go.
We had a good time, didn't we? Yeah? I think we did, yeah.
Cool. I didn't peek in, so you guys could have been quiet the whole time, and I'd be none the wiser. I mean, like, why is he still here? None of us enjoyed the film. I wouldn't know, because I just showed up. Send me an angel. All right, I'm here. That was.
Thank you for being here. It's been really lovely chatting to you
Oh,
about your
thanks so
film, and
much.
huge congratulations, Aziz,
Thank
everybody.
you guys so much for
Thank you
coming
mu-
out.
Thanks, Aziz.